Welcome to the Chasing Ebenezer Show. This is a show where we talk about stuff, play you some music, and encourage you to be creative. This season, we are exploring the art of being human. We want to say thank you to our patrons who support us each month. If you want to know more about that, visit us on patreon.com/Chasing Ebenezer. For more information about our musical endeavors, visit chasingebenezer.com. We hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the Chasing Ebenezer Show. This is episode 51, which means we have one more of season 3. When did we start season 3?
A very long time ago. I don't even know. It was meant to be 1 year, and we bit off more than we could chew, and something
like most creatives do.
In the life world happened. But we really wanted to get to 52, and the reason is this: it's because we've had journaling worksheets that go along the whole time. So the goal is to put that all into a workbook, so it's like a year of creativity. So it just it took a little more than a year to get 52.
That's okay.
You know what? It's part of being human is biting off more than you can chew.
It's true. It's true. And we want to say thank you to our patrons who have been on this journey with us for 3 seasons now.
We started in 2019 on
19.
Patreon.
Yep.
So thank you. Some of you have done the whole time. Some of you have done bits here and there. Some of you have, however long it is, we're just grateful that you would consider supporting us because you don't have to.
Yeah, we're very grateful for that. And I forgot to introduce us in case you didn't know and you're just watching for the first time. I'm Benjamin and this is Heidi. Okay, we did that. So Heidi, what are you excited about?
I got to play pickleball today.
Oh,
I have never played pickleball, and I am so looking forward to it. My friend Terry, she loves pickleball, and I am ready to be terrible at it, but I am super excited.
And my plan, because we talked about limitations in our last episode, I know that today I'm not going to have enough energy to play pickleball, but
then you're then you're not invited today.
I know I'm not invited. So when you go though, I want to know how it is because if you enjoy it, I'll probably want to jump in on it. I've heard good things about it. Like I have friends who really like pickleball.
I think Singing in the Rain is one of the greatest movies of all time, and
I wouldn't go that far with that movie.
Way.
That's all. I just wouldn't go that far.
Just because I enjoy something doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it too.
True.
I think you'll enjoy pickleball.
That's kind of the sense I have. I have a really good friend that lives in Maryland who likes to play, and so
it's quite the rage. So I'm excited about that.
Cool. I am excited. What am I excited about? I'm excited about St. Patrick's Day.
Oh.
I'm excited about St. Patrick's Day. We'll announce the shows later, but we've got some shows. We've got a lot of shows coming up and a couple of them with the full band. And I'm really excited about that. I've gotten to the place where I really love St. Patrick's Day. And it's not because of green. It's not because of beer necessarily. It's just, I think there's just a general energy of excitement that's there, and our music translates well.
Yeah.
So I don't have to modify things that much.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Hey, me too. I should practice some fiddle songs.
You should.
Because it's
you should write some fiddle songs.
Yes, I should.
Yeah.
Okay, so how have you been experiencing your humanity?
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been sleeping super great past months.
I wonder why this could be.
Because our sweet kittens who are growing.
Oh, they're gotten so big.
They've gotten huge, but they're still kittens, and if we are out in public, it is a public service to you, because if I had my rathers, I would stay inside with my cats all the time.
So you just insulted all of humanity.
No, that's not what I meant.
And said that what a gift your presence is to the world. Is that what you intended to say?
That's not what I intended to say.
Oh, okay. What did you intend to say?
What I intended to say was, our cats are so cute, it's made it hard for me to go out in public.
Oh, there you go.
It's a sacrifice.
That's a lesson.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
That's okay.
So all that.
Follow Maestro and Raffy Purr on Instagram,
yes,
and you can understand
adorable.
why Ben is having a hard time leaving the house.
Yes. But the other side about having cats is that they have a different sleep schedule than I do. And they have woken me up around 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and 5. And they take turns.
Sounds good to me. I like getting up early.
But my problem, and this might be more information than you want, but when I wake up and I'm jolted awake, I just start to sweat like crazy. And there is nothing worse to me than being sweaty while you try to sleep. I just don't like it. It is not a thing that I enjoy. So that is how I've been experiencing my humanity.
Well, there you go.
What about you?
I didn't come prepared with an answer.
That's okay.
Not being prepared is how I have experienced my humanity lately.
Okay. Well, we'll just say that.
That's the true answer. We're not always prepared.
Nope. Often we're not prepared.
Oh, and I realized how much I like to be warm more than ever because we lost power for compared to so many people who had days without power, 15 hours. So we went to bed without power, and it's like, oh my gosh. It was
like 48 degrees in the house.
I was pretty cold. And so I also have felt grateful, though, to have a home to sleep in because even if the heat's not on, it's not as cold as it was outside. So just grateful. Really grateful for a home.
Yeah.
So there you go. I came up with multiple. So now we're going to talk about a topic known as death.
Yeah, and we want to give a discllaimer in the beginning.
It's a serious topic.
It's a serious topic. It could be a topic that might be painful
or triggering.
And so we're just putting that disclaimer out there. We're going to be talking about it. It is a part of life, but if you're not emotionally in a place to be able to
we want to
do
be
that,
sensitive.
we invite you just to skip this one. It's totally okay. We understand. So here we go. So death is a reality that we all face, and we probably spend a lot of time trying not to think about. So we are going to think about it in this episode. And I thought I'd just ask the question, what is your earliest memory in encountering death?
Well, the main one that comes to mind, and it's possible there's earlier memory, but really it was when I was pretty young. My dad's best friend killed himself, and I had never fathomed that. I didn't know what to do with that because I knew about dying, and I think generally some older people, I think, in our church had passed away.
Right.
But that someone would choose to die, my brain couldn't figure out what to do with that either. So that was kind of a super intense situation. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think my earliest memory, and I don't remember having a whole lot of emotion with this one, was my great-grandmother who was very, who was in her 90s.
Yeah.
She passed away, and I didn't have a bond with her to the degree that I did with my grandfather. So when he died, it was awful.
Yeah.
So I remember that as a kid, but the first time I remember feeling death was when our dog Snookums, the dog's name was Snookums or Snookies, I don't know. She was sick, and so my dad took her to be put down. And, as a kid, I remember being curious about death, like, oh, this is a new event. I don't know what this is going to be like. So I wasn't dreading it, but it was like, oh, this was a change. And so when my dad got home, though, and the reality set in that she wasn't coming home, I remember crying. And the most touching thing I remember, I'm sure one of us was going to cry during this episode, I remember my dad crying with me, and that helped quite a bit.
Oh.
So,
well, I guess wasn't thinking about pets, so we did have a pet maybe died before that. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
So now fast forward to being an adult. what is your relationship with death, encountering death? I know that's a big question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think that the first true, I mean, I've had people I love pass away, but then when my mom died in 2020, it was like, I don't know how I can function.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be able to function? How can I live in a world where she is not alive? It was just like, so it's taken years of therapy and the way was so traumatic,
Sure.
being locked out
Sure.
during COVID of the hospital. So there's so many layers to it as well. And so that death has forever changed us, and things will never go back to normal in drastic ways. And so learning to live with that over the years. But it's weird because there's then also this sense of joy that she is no longer in pain because she was not a well person in general. So it's, as time has passed, the overwhelming sense of, oh, my body is just aching.
Mm-hmm.
It'll always be there, but I'm so relieved for her. So it's kind of like the joy and the hope is starting to balance out.
Sure.
And so it's so complicated.
It is so complicated. It is so yeah, what I'm hearing is like that, obviously that immobilized you in a lot of ways. Yeah, no,
well, you were witness to all the trauma,
there.
so
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. That was rough.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think because I remember the most significant death, other than your mom, was my grandfather when he died when I was 17. Now I was old enough then to know,
right? You're not like 5, sure.
Because I think that's the other piece too. As a kid, you might bond, but then time and bonding makes it so much more worse because it solidifies that. And I'd become really close to him, but the aftermath of his death, I think I was kind of shielded from because I wasn't responsible for his estate. I wasn't responsible for, and he had lost my grandmother 5 years before. So he was the last one. So I feel like with this one, it was more of like, we're the adults now.
Oh yeah.
And having to kind of deal with the nitty gritty, walking with your dad through like picking all of it.
Yeah,
all of it.
It's very bizarre. Yeah, especially when it's not anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the emotional side, but then like the reality of cleaning up after a life.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you don't realize till you're responsible. Oh yeah. And we're still. You find things, you're still doing things that takes forever, it seems like, to help close down a person's life, but not their memory. So we're actually going to talk about legacy for our last episode.
Yeah.
So, I think that one of the helpful things has been the concept of the Swedish, wait, am I going to say it wrong? The Swedish. There is only coffee in here. There's nothing more. The Swedish. Oh man, now I'm good.
I know the last part is the art of Swedish death cleaning or something like that.
Yes, the art of Swedish death cleaning. The concept was so helpful, like watching the show, the show's perspective on death, that there's so many things that weigh us down and cause emotional death now. Mm-hmm. And so that the Swedish people talk about death as a normal part of life, as preparing way earlier, because in American Western culture, we don't talk about death.
We don't
like it's
talk
never
about
going to
it at all.
happen, versus like, hey, I am absolutely going to die one day. How can I live to die and well? And so we've been, trying to talk about things now so that it's not like 20, 30 years from now.
Right. And I think it's part of that is there's several reasons, but two of them, I think it's because we've both encountered, it's been a frequent thing. Like we're losing people that we love.
Yeah. Because as you age, then you start losing more and more people, which that sucks. That's a sucky part of life.
And depending on how close you are, like I know with your mom, and then with one of our close friends who we lost to suicide, and then the aftermath of that. It's you're putting yourself in that person's shoes, in that family's shoes, and thinking in terms of, what am I leaving? What is that going to look like?
Yeah. But I think the more that we talk about death, it becomes more comfortable. Doesn't mean treating it flippantly or anything like that, but it becomes more natural. Growing up, the most visceral grieving experience was my friend. When I was a teenager, I lived in Romania, and their dad died. And when he passed away, the village, his body was open air on a cart, and we walked through the streets, and behind it there was so much demonstrative grief, and then we threw dirt on it, and it was such a way to grieve, because death without grieving or being able to do it with people, that is what makes so much of it. It can compound things. So witnessing this open display of grief at the loss of this person they loved, that was so impactful. Yeah. And so the more and more that we let people grieve and make death not this taboo topic, it's easier to do. And then it helps with minimizing some of the ripple effects.
Sure.
Doesn't negate negate the grief, but it helps. So yeah.
We've kind of established that our culture doesn't talk about death so much. So why do you think that is that we have such a hard time talking about it?
I don't know. It's uncomfortable. I don't know. It wasn't modeled to us.
Right.
I think it's the same reason that we avoid hospitals and sometimes, unfortunately, seniors, because it reminds us of our own mortality.
Sure.
I mean, that's something I've heard before, that there's this tendency. So we want to believe that we're going to not die, and just generationally, culturally, I mean, it's not modeled to us.
Right.
So I don't know all the reasons, but
a few thoughts. One, I think one of the reasons why it's hard is because our culture, entertainment-wise, we value youth. Youth is like exalted, and that's not. Well, I think it is wrong. I think it's out of balance. It's out of balance. That's why, when you watch all these commercials, it's like, here's how you can make yourself look like you're not aging. All of it is like a denial of death and a denial of mortality and eternal youth. We long for that.
We do.
And we almost have the reverse effect. Like in other cultures, and this isn't me, this is stuff we've heard said, the older generation was seen as the wise, the sages. There was more of an integration there, and in our culture, it's not. So it's there's a whole lot of denial that goes on with that.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, I think there's so many reasons, but
yeah. And a lot of times we're busy trying to live. We don't want to think about preparing to die.
Right. Exactly.
It's not a thing. I did a rites of passage in 2019, and I remember going out in the woods and being told I was going to die.
Oh,
that was a thing.
That sounds like a good afternoon.
And because I don't want to say too much about what happens with that in case anybody goes on,
you
need to be surprised. But that was like, it was like, okay, have I really reckoned with the fact that I'm going to die, that you're going to die? Because the way you and I do this is we think about it in terms of, oh, we're just going to die together. We're praying that that's going to happen. We're going to trust that that's going to happen. And while I would like that to happen,
it's the odds are so.
One of us is going to go first.
It is, yeah. And so I feel like we're finally like no, let's not live in magical thinking land. Yep. That one of us is going to die first, and that's going to be hard for whoever whoever doesn't win that lottery ticket.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
yeah.
And it can be really easy to go to the other extreme at that point.
Sure,
and
to
just
be
focus
totally
on,
paralyzed and so afraid of death. And that's not what we want to do. We want to normalize talking about death. And it was really helpful because I think it was a few weeks before my mom died, it was during lockdown, we had just watched Stephen Jenkinson,
I think his name is.
Oh, well, I was close.
You were close.
I just didn't get all the way there.
I think I'm trying to remember what the documentary was called.
Oh, shoot. I'm totally blanking on what the documentary was called. But he was talking to a group of people who follow Jesus like we do and pointing out, though, that many people who follow Jesus actually don't talk about death, but yet Jesus himself, he talked about death all the time. So that was a helpful thing to already have really thought through before my mom died. It was like a gift from heaven that I was kind of already thinking about it with COVID and all that. And, but yeah, not being afraid to talk about it actually gives you more freedom than if you don't talk about it and then it just sneaks up and catches you by surprise.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, that's good. So let me transition this a little bit.
Let's do it.
Because we are talking about art here as well and creativity.
Yeah.
So how does death connect to creativity?
Oh, goodness gracious. I love me some John Steinbeck. There's so much death in there.
Edgar Allan Poe.
But there's usually just one little glimmer of hope or one nugget that it's attempting to teach you, because death is a teacher. And so it's so human. And I love The Walking Dead. Oh my goodness gracious.
And the new one's coming out next month with Rick.
If you don't know what that means.
Don't worry about it. That was a side conversation. Okay, so yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just it's not like I like death, but I like acknowledgement of our humanity and our mortality because it's true.
Yep.
So that doesn't mean but I also don't like glorification of death and murder, which The Walking Dead, I didn't watch it for a really long time. And then I stopped watching it for a while. So, you got to know yourself too, and what bothers you. So not glorifying blood and guts. That's not what we want to do here. But I think that it's a part of our journey is death has happened and it will happen. But there's always hope there. Yeah, there's always a glimmer of hope.
Right. Well, and as creators, are we creating with our own death in mind? I mean, because the ways that can play out, and it's not like an invitation to go live your best life now. That's not what I mean. But sometimes we hold back thinking we have all the time in the world with art, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so we always wait and always have a reason to not be ready to create. And so recognizing that you're going to die and you have a very limited amount of control over when that happens, should inspire us to live now.
Create from our guts. I think that's why that scene in Walk the Line, that scene where Joaquin Phoenix is playing Johnny Cash and he's just doing his music, and then he's basically put your money where your mouth is, and what's the last... You can YouTube that clip. He's singing the song. Go ahead.
Well, as a songwriter and as a person who does music in church, that was I almost get emotional hearing about that scene, because it's he was singing what he felt like he was supposed to sing, and it was a gospel song. And then when he sang what he actually meant, that almost felt more holy to me, even though it was a song about murder.
So it's a strange world of art, but when we create with our guts, because I appreciate that we don't know how much time we're going to have, so don't hold back for the right moment out of fear or intimidation or whatever. I'm saying this to myself too. So we want to see your guts, even though it's messy, and
show us your guts.
Show us your guts. Show us your guts.
Well, and just kind of thinking what we're invited to in talking about death. I mean, we can get to prompts here in a minute, But it's almost like there's a two-sided thing in dealing with this subject. One, it's when we experience death, it does have a tendency to narrow and focus what's important.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely does.
It strips away what,
all the BS is gone, and you're right there. But at the same time, there's that we need to be invited to fully feel that, to fully grieve it, to fully own it. And then the other side of it is we need to be preparing for our own death as well, like grieving who we've lost and preparing that we're going to be one of the people that dies. So, yeah. So what are some creative prompts for this subject?
Yeah, no, I think there's so many. Well, I just listened to East of Eden. Oh, it was just as good as the first time I read it. Oh, yeah. Well, at the end of the day, hope, I truly believe, Jesus said it, that he's the way, the truth, and the life, and there's eternal life after this version of ourselves passes, and I truly believe that. And so you may or may not be someone who believes that, but you never have, I would just invite you to read the stories of Jesus, and especially his death and his resurrection and the things he had to say about it. Just read it and see what pops out to you, what you agree with, what you disagree with. But if you've never taken the time to read it, if you need some help finding which, because it's a big honking book, but you can it is, it's a big book. But there's specific stories that deal with that, and art. There's so many beautiful art. Maybe go visit a chapel or a monastery where you see the images of the crucifixion and just appreciate the brutality and yet the hope. So those are a couple I had in mind.
Here's one that just popped in my head. Write your own eulogy.
Oh.
Write your own eulogy. How would you want to be remembered? And does how you're living now currently reflect that? That's hard, but challenge you to do that. So anyway, we know this is a, did you have anything else to say?
Oh no, I was just gonna your song.
Okay.
That's what you mean. Your
so
song.
we've been talking, this is a heavy topic and we could talk more about it, and we of course did not do it justice, but hopefully this starts a conversation for you. So the song that we're going to do is the last song off of our first album.
The last song of our first album.
Last song of our first album called The End, and it's a song about resurrection and the reality of death. So anyway, we love you, and we will see you for our last episode.
We love you.
Yeah. They say my time is short, 100 years at best. With my vapored words, I'll sing a song for death. This is not. This is not. This is not the end. Ooh. Bury me in the ground, or send me to the flames. For my windy soul has eternity in its veins. This is not. This is not. This is not the end. Ooh. strip me of all I have. Know the one who's beaten you will open our eyes again. You are not. You are not. You are not the end. You are not. You are not. You are not the end. We will rise, 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 rise. He will open up our eyes. We who sleep will not die. We will rise, 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 rise. He will open up our eyes. We who sleep will not die. We will rise, rise, rise. This is not. This is